Next step is to import all of the geometry, textures, and a light into our folder system. So in the geo folder, which stands for geometry, I have imported 3 geometry files, and they are named Coffee Bean 1, 2, and 3, with consistent naming, only the numbers changing. And they are in Houdini's native file format, which is called the geo, and it's for geometry. And then in the text folder, we've got textures, 4 textures for each coffee bean. They're all different, with the naming following the same pattern: Coffee Bean 1, Coffee Bean 2, and Coffee Bean 3. We've got a bump map, displacement, color, and a specular map. And finally, I have created a HDR folder, and in there I've placed the light, the HDR light, which is an EXR file, which we will use later. Okay, back into Houdini. Let's rename this. So just click on here and we'll give it a better name. Let's call it Coffee Beans. So we're in the OBJ context now, where you will place geometry nodes, things like cameras we will place here, lights, and things like that. Okay. To go into the SOP context where we can work on geometry, we double click to enter into this into the SOP context. To come back out, you can click up here on OBJ. So double click up here, or shortcuts, you can use I for in or U for up. Okay. So once we are inside in Coffee Beans, we need to import our files. So we use a file SOP for that. So tab Fi to search for file. We have our file SOP. SOP stands for surface operator, so we can work on geometry. Okay, modeling, things like that. So once we have the file SOP, we've got a default box here, but we don't want that. So click on this symbol to open the file explorer. Go to job. This will place you in your project folder, and then geo, which is where we place the coffee beans, and there they are. Click on that. Make sure that this is unchecked. If this is checked, it will show you a sequence as if it's an animation, so make sure that's unchecked. Coffee bean 1, accept, and then we have our first model. So whenever you import geometry into Houdini, it's good practice just to obviously visually look at it, make sure that it looks okay, and also to look at what information it holds. So one way to do that is on any SOP node, and in fact you can go to I, and this will show you what information you've got at the moment. So we've got this number of points, this many primitives. Primitives are polygons, it's the same thing. Typically in Houdini we refer to them as primitives. Vertices, which are separate to points in Houdini. Okay, they're 2 separate things. Mostly in Houdini you're working with points, sometimes with primitives. Vertices more for shading. And then on the points, stored on the points, we've got a normal attribute, which is a 3 float vector, and the position, again a 3 float vector, and then a UV. And then on the vertices, the vertex attributes, and then on the primitives or the polygons, we've got a group, and the name of the group is Coffee Bean 1, and a group attribute will just be a 0 or the 1. Really, it works in the same way as other attributes. groups is just, it has a value of either 1 if it's in the group or 0 if it's not in the group. Okay, so we'll close that. Now let's import the other coffee beans. We've got one here. So an easy way to duplicate, you can either Control C and Control V, copy and paste, not coffee and paste, copy and paste. Or you can, another way that I like to use is Alt, click and drag, and then we'll pull a copy away. Okay, so at the moment we're importing 3 of the same thing, and we don't want that. So what we'll do, we'll select the node, either click and drag or just click, and then you'll see it's selected. Change this to 2, and we get our other coffee bean. Same on the other node, select it, visualize, and change it to 3. So there we've got our 3 coffee beans. Lovely. So at the moment they are separate in 3 separate data streams, we would call them. So to merge them together, we need something called a merge node. Surprise, surprise. So tab MER for merge. This will create a merge node, and with this we can, if you select all of the nodes, you'll connect them all at once. You can either do that, or to cut these lines, by the way, if you hold Y, this will give you these scissors, and you can cut them like that. Also, you can click on a node, we'll just do this one, and just shake it, and it will snap off. Okay, so you can do them one by one like that, or all at once, which makes more sense in this case. So visualize that, so that we've got all of the nodes, all of the data streams, all of the geometry overlapping. And then when we take a look here, we've got all of the points together, all of the primitives, but we can still separate them using these groups. So we can split them up or refer to each piece of geometry with these groups. Another thing to take note of, especially when doing simulations, doing dynamic work, the scale in Houdini is different to a lot of other 3D packages. So 1 unit, so there we've got 1, 2, is 1 meter. So that's a big coffee bean, right? So we need to rescale it and get closer to real world scale. So tab again, we use a transform node to change the scale, position, rotation of any object. So we'll use this to change it down to 0.1 scale, which is still maybe a little big for a coffee bean, but for our purpose it will be fine. When it comes to doing bullet simulations, which is what we'll be doing, working in very small scale, things can become unstable. So, you know, as close as you can get, this should be fine for us. And there we go.